Hey, happy Sunday. How are you? I hope you're having a great day. I wanted to come on here and take a few minutes to chat with you about something that randomly came up in topic about 2 weeks ago. And also, it popped up again in a video that I saw on YouTube a couple of days ago as well. And it's this topic around why is it that when grandparents die, why do all of the aunts and uncles kind of become more separated, divided, and family gatherings stop? But in this YouTube video that I'm referencing, it was a gentleman, probably mid to late 30s, possibly early 40s, close enough in my age range. He was stating how he had a lot of unpleasant, unkind feelings towards his mother and why it is that she didn't show up in a better capacity to help raise him into the man that he's become today. He also stated that his father was not in the picture to help raise him into the man that he has become today. But his anger and frustration, as he states, has nothing to do with his father because he wasn't there. Then he goes on to say that his grandmother, his mom's mother, was the one that raised him and nurtured him and guided him into being the man that he is today. And how much this woman, his grandmother, meant to him, and how when she passed, how he was just devastated because she meant so much to him. I want to start off by saying how disappointed I am by the fact that he believes that all of his anger and frustration belongs to his mom because she didn't show up in the capacity in which he believes she should have. Yes, she probably should have and could have shown up in better ways, but I also want to take a moment to say that it is unfair and insensitive to tell the parent that did their best to be there that all the ways that they failed are their fault and their responsibility alone, and the parent that was not there in any capacity has nothing to do with the ways in which the parent that intentionally tried to show up didn't quite meet the mark. It's kind of like a job. If you are scheduled to work a shift and one or two, three, four, five other people are scheduled to work that same shift with you, and heaven forbid, one of those people call out that day, that means that the load that you have to carry for that day is going to be more than what it would have been if the other person that called out would have came to work to handle their load. Does that make you a bad employee? No. But it gives more load, more responsibility to you because the person that was supposed to be handling the other task that got left by the side, so to speak, they're now your responsibility. And that same thing applies in parenting. If one parent is there taking on the responsibilities that are rightfully theirs and the other parent is absent, it makes the responsibilities of the parent that is actually there more challenging and difficult to manage and bear. Is it impossible? No, but it makes it more challenging. I also want to touch on the fact that this young man, not just this young man, but many people, myself included, have made statements of having issues with the version of our parents that we received in our childhood and having such a high regard for the grandparents, meaning the parents that raised our parents. It's very easy to hold our grandparents in high regard because they are giving us a version of them that has raised children into adulthood, and they have had time to give thought and consideration to the ways in which they did well and the ways in which they did not do well. And many of our grandparents, they had multiple children. I know on my mom's side of the family, my grandparents, they had 9 children. And on my dad's side of the family, I believe there was 7 or 8, which means they had multiple opportunities to practice the ways in which they should show up as a parent and to learn from the ways in which they showed up, but it didn't really serve their children well. So when our parents became parents, meaning they gave birth to us, to me, and to you, and we spend time with our grandparents, we are receiving a completely different version of our grandparents than the version that our parents received. If you have issue with the version of your parent that raised you, then you must also give consideration to who it is that raised them. Because any dysfunction, poor behavior that they are exhibiting, I almost guarantee that it's a direct result of experiences from their childhood that have negatively impacted them and created the parent that you received. I also want to say that the version of your grandparents, as I stated already, that you received, it's not the same version that your parents received. As a young girl, I used to spend me and another sibling, we used to spend a lot of time at my grandparents' house, my mom's parents' house. After school, we would spend the rest of our day there while our parents were at work. And when we would go to my grandparents' house, we always had a good time. My grandmother, she would always have food done or be cooking. She always had desserts, apple pies, cakes. It was just always a good time. She was always pleasant, enjoyable to be around. Her house was always clean. My grandfather would always be there. He would be sitting on the couch watching a game or maybe sitting out on the porch. Sometimes my grandmother's sisters would come over. They would sit out on the back porch. They would laugh and talk and have like homemade wine and smoke their cigarettes. And it was always an enjoyable time. Sometimes other cousins and aunts would come over and visit. It was always a good time. I had no complaints about the experiences that I had at my grandparents' house. It was always an enjoyable experience. However, that's not the same version of my grandparents that my mother had. Her experiences were completely different. And the experiences that she had shaped and molded her into the woman and mother and wife that she became. And it's so easy for me and for you to take offense by the ways in which they did not show up for us and place blame on them while holding our grandparents and absent parents in such high regard as if that's the whole story. That's not the whole story. And I want you to really find it in your heart to give more grace to yourself and to your parents. But also realize that the version of your grandparents, the version of people that you hold in such high regard, that's not the version that everybody received from them, especially earlier on in life. If you have an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent that raised you, and that aunt, uncle, or grandparent has children as well, I need you to understand that the version that you're receiving from them, it's not the same version that their children received. And it's unfair to place the level of blame that we can sometimes place on parents for their shortcomings as a result of things that they experienced in their childhood that negatively impacted them and shaped and molded them into the people, the person, the mother and or father that they have become as a result of experiences that they had in their childhood with the people that we hold in such high regard, because we are receiving a completely different version of them. It also brings up this topic of why is it that when grandparents and parents die, why does the family, why do the children, the siblings, the aunts and the uncles and cousins, why does it create so much separation and distance, and why do so many feelings of jealousy and anger and resentment, why does so much negative emotional baggage come to the surface when grandparents and parents die with their children? And I absolutely believe that the reason this happens is because there are so many experiences that are happening and that have happened when our parents and grandparents were alive, but the conversations were never had to repair these experiences that took place. And instead, we have all just taken these unpleasant feelings and emotions, this anger, this rage, this disappointment, this jealousy, and we have kind of grabbed a hold of it and placed it in our bag of unpleasant emotions and thrown it over our shoulder, so to speak, and we just carry it along with us everywhere we go. And out of respect for our parents and out of respect for our grandparents, we say we won't talk about it. We'll show up to the family gathering and we will be loving, kind, and respectful. And we will do what we're supposed to do in honor of our parents, in honor of our grandparents. But when our parents and or our grandparents die, that is when all of those feelings and emotions that we stuck in our bag, so to speak, and threw over our shoulder, that's when all of those unpleasant feelings and emotions, we take them out of the bag and they start coming to the surface, and it creates this gap, this wedge, this distance within the family members, the siblings and relatives that are still living, because there's so much dysfunction that was never spoke about, that was never addressed, because we just learned to get along for the sake of keeping the peace, so to speak. Yeah, mom and dad were always fighting and dad was always hitting on mom, but we don't talk about it. We just sweep it under the rug. Or maybe mom was cheating on dad for years and we all know it, but we don't talk about it. We just sweep it under the rug. Or maybe one of our parents struggled with drugs, and as a result of it, it caused our family to struggle a lot financially. And because our family struggled financially as a result of one parent that was struggling with drugs, we take it out on the other parent and make it their responsibility of, why didn't you do more? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? We are misplacing responsibility and accountability onto the wrong people because we are afraid and too uncomfortable to have conversations with the real person that is responsible for their behavior. Every human being is responsible for their behavior. Every mother is responsible for her behavior. Every father is responsible for his behavior. Every sibling is responsible for their behavior. Every aunt, uncle, every human being is responsible for their behavior. And the sooner that we as adults can realize that and really understand that we are responsible for what it is that we say or don't say, what it is that we do or don't do, it's our responsibility. And because so many of us grow up in these dysfunctional families where we don't learn how to have conversations to address the real issues within a family, we begin to place blame on whomever it is that we think is the safer person to blame, so to speak. Who can we place blame on that we know won't get upset? Who can we place the blame on that we know if we place blame on them, they'll just take it and it'll be okay? This is not a conversation about who can we place blame on, but more so, how can you learn to be accountable for your own feelings and emotions and stop placing blame for your feelings and emotions because they are yours. Regardless of what your parents did or did not do in your childhood, everything that you are and everything that you are not as an adult is now yours. It is your job to make sense of it, figure it out, and work it out. And it's very unfair and irresponsible to place blame on somebody else for who you are as an adult. I think a more mature way to handle that would be to acknowledge the things that have taken place in your childhood with the dynamic between yourself and your parents and or siblings, and really be honest with yourself about what it is that did or didn't happen and the impact that it had on you. Not to blame somebody else, because the truth is, if they said or did something to you that was hurtful, they didn't do it on purpose. As crazy as that may sound, they did it because they didn't know better. And if they knew better, they would have done better. But to really go back and look at those experiences that you had so you can better understand yourself, to understand how you can help to heal yourself, how you can help to repair the hurt and harm that was done to you so you won't pass it on to your own children, so that we as families can minimize and eliminate the dysfunction in families and stop this pattern of disruption that is happening within families when parents pass away, when grandparents pass away. Because we are destroying families because of uncomfortable conversations that were never had. It's 2025. We have access to technology and resources that our parents, grandparents, and everybody else that came before us did not have. And as a result of us having this access, it allows us to take responsibility for the things that they didn't have the resources to take responsibility for, and to really heal in ways that some of them didn't have the ability to heal. And it's not to say that they couldn't, they just didn't know how. And if you think it's okay to keep placing blame on those that came before you, and you are a parent or you want to become a parent, there is a very high probability that you're going to pass that same pain and hurt onto your children, because you don't understand where it came from and you haven't done the work to heal it. It's just going from one generation to the next because nobody's talking about it. Nobody's dealing with it. So I want to encourage you to stop taking aim at your parents, your grandparents, the absent parent. I want to encourage you to take aim at yourself. I want to encourage you to take aim in the right direction. And AIM is an acronym that I created, and it stands for acknowledge, identify, and modify. And what you need to do is acknowledge your own feelings and emotions to understand what it is that you're feeling and why you're feeling it. And then the I is for identify. Identify the root cause of why it is you're feeling the way you're feeling. And in order to do that, you have to go back and revisit those experiences that hurt you in your childhood and really understand what happened, how it impacted you, and how it's showing up in your current life. Maybe you were sexually abused as a child, and as an adult, you're showing up in relationships controlling or manipulative, or maybe you're showing up with more of a promiscuous energy, whether you're a male or a female. That matters. So many of us, too many of us, are allowing the pain of our childhood to control us in our adult lives. And then once you acknowledge those feelings and emotions and you identify the root cause, now you have the capacity to start making adjustments to the behaviors that you are displaying as a result of those unpleasant, those uncomfortable feelings and emotions, so that you can make better choices to improve your behavior and to alter the future of what will impact your children. So I just wanted to take a moment to share that message with you. I hope you found something in this video useful. I want to encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe. And last of all, I want to remind you to take aim in the right direction. Take aim at yourself so that you can acknowledge your feelings. You can identify the root cause of those uncomfortable and unpleasant feelings, and you can work to modify the unhealthy, hurtful, and harmful behaviors that you are displaying as a result of things that have negatively impacted you in your childhood. I want to thank you for spending this time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a great Sunday.